right. And welcome everybody to another Friday Labs Open Office Hour. And this week we're joined by Matt Bach. We have some really cool stuff to talk about today because Adobe MAX just ended, and that means all kinds of cool stuff that new and fancy and a lot of fun actually to play with. Because if you've looked at our Twitter lately, Matt was having a little goof earlier, so I'm really excited. But as always, Matt, give a little introduction, who you are, what you do, just in case anybody doesn't already know.
Sure. All right. So I'm Matt Bach. I'm on the labs team. So we do a lot of hardware and software testing to kind of figure out like what the right combination is between the two, because software is all different. It all uses hardware differently, even between like Photoshop and Lightroom, very different, or Premiere Pro and After Effects. And my specialty area is like content creation, think video and photo. So a lot of the Adobe suite, and then software that kind of does, in the same vein. So like DaVinci Resolve is a good example.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, Adobe MAX just finished. It was a weird Adobe MAX this year because it was all virtual. It wasn't in person. And man, I miss seeing people, but I know it was the right thing to do and all that.
Yeah.
But this year was, I don't know, I felt like the updates this year were like a much bigger deal. A lot of really, really cool stuff that they've been leading up to for years. Is finally like here, and so much of it is about like AI and making your job easier and really cool. There's also some really good performance improvements that we'll talk about, but yeah, like it feels like it's really the birth of AI in like a lot of the Adobe stuff. As far as like, I mean, there's been a whole bunch that they've had, but it was very kind of in the background. Like content aware fill was a big thing last year, and like yeah, that's AI, but I don't know, it just didn't feel as in your face. And now there's just like, hey, let's make someone look old.
Yeah,
it's a button.
Or like
amazing. Well, it's cool.
And then like being able to kind of turn somebody's head a little bit, or
change where they're looking.
Yeah, that's
apparently that's a big deal with like photo shoots. Like someone will be looking either right at the camera and they're not supposed to be, or will be looking just to the side and they want them to be looking at the camera. And as long as it's like, if it's too much, like,
they're not.
It's gonna look weird.
Rotating their head totally to the side.
It can't make. Well, I was going to say it can't make information out of nothing, but it kind of can with AI.
Kind of.
But the more it has to change it, the weirder it's going to look.
Right.
And, a lot of this stuff, I would say, like, it does really, really well, but it's not 100%. Like, it'll get you to, like, I don't know, 3/4 of the way there. It'll get out all the, like, starting points, and then that's where it comes down to the skill of, like, the actual user of making it look perfect.
Right.
It's not going to be perfect.
Yeah. So... Well, I guess that's a great intro. So, I guess to start, what do you think was the coolest, the most exciting announcement that Adobe had this year?
Coolest to me, or coolest to like people who actually do this work every day?
Let's go for the customer angle, the people who do this every day.
So I think I don't know if it'd be coolest, but I say one of the best things is for video editors actually in Premiere.
Okay.
They added a whole bunch of stuff. I have tried to have the like what's new stuff in here, and like they added a whole bunch of really cool stuff, like support for Rec 2100 color spaces and stuff. But like, yeah, for the people who that matters, that's amazing. For everyone else, it's like cool. But I think the biggest thing is they added GPU decoding, and people might have seen. I think it's unlisted on our YouTube page, but it's on the Adobe Video YouTube account. We did a whole video about GPU decoding, and like it's so good.
Yeah,
it's like really, really good. Because before this, I don't want to get too much into it because someone could just like watch the video. Maybe we'll toss a link in at some point. But before this, you could do it with Intel QuickSync, but that limited you to like mid-range CPUs.
Right.
Now that we have GPU decoding, you can get an AMD system, you can get a Xeon, you can get an X series, you can get anything, and like now you can get really good performance.
Is that going to make now that you can offload all that stuff to GPU, do you think that's going to make a big splash for AMD? Like people can move over to like Threadripper and stuff?
Yeah. One of the reasons why we've been staying on the 10900K on our own Premiere systems, at least on the lower end, is because it was massively better for people working with H.264 and HEPC, which is like, I mean, at the very high end professional, like it's not as big of a deal because they'll be working in ProRes or RAWs. but for like 90% of people using Premiere,
Right.
like, yeah, that's a huge deal. And now they
Yeah.
can get something like, yeah, a Ryzen CPU, which I mean, right now, yeah, are a little bit better, but we also have a launch in, I don't know, a couple of weeks or whatever, the
Right.
5000 series. And like, AMD says it's supposed to be, what was it, like a 19% IPC increase? So like
That's well, I've heard that tossed around. Yeah.
something like that. So like a 20% performance
Whoa.
bump is what AMD is saying. And, it's always going to be different in apps.
Mm-hmm.
So like we'll see what it actually is, but still, like, yeah, it'll be really interesting if like we don't have any Intel based systems for Premiere anymore, because now that reason to have it is kind of gone.
I suppose the only thing would be Thunderbolt, right? That seems to be still kind of a sticky point.
I think we're actually close to having a B550 motherboard qualified up with Thunderbolt, and it
Ooh.
actually works.
Oh, hey, pipe!
That like we found on AMD platforms that works and is actually certified by Intel, because Intel owns Thunderbolt and all that, and it's actually certified and it actually works.
Wow.
So it looks like we're going to be moving to that pretty soon, we hope. The weird thing with that is by going to B550, I think you get less PCIe lanes. You don't get the overclocking stuff, but who cares? We don't do that.
Yeah.
I forget, there's something else, but like it's a little bit more sticky. But I do want to show. Okay, so we're talking about GPU decoding.
Yeah.
I actually have a demo. We can show this.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Nope.
You ready for me to share screen? Let me see here. And there we go. Hopefully that's
there.
Working.
It is. Yep.
Good. All right. So this is actually great because I'm going on a live stream next week, I think on Wednesday, with Jason Levine.
Ooh.
Which anyone who knows Adobe stuff knows Jason Levine. So I'm super excited about that one.
That's going to be
and
so
we're
much
be
fun.
doing some of those too on there. So this is a good test run. So what I have here is I have, this is the latest version of Premiere Pro, the one that just updated yesterday.
Okay.
And then just so I have the beta. I'm not using it for any beta stuff, but I just have it for, preferences, media. I just have it, and I just have hardware decoding turned off. So I'm not using Intel, I'm not using NVIDIA. My system has both. So it's turned off basically on this right one.
Okay.
And so there's a couple of things like scrubbing. So you can see like it kind of choppy, just trying to scrub. And this is from a DJI Mavic, so it's HEVC actually in this case.
Okay.
Versus this guy, it's just like great.
Yeah.
So there's a lot other like cool stuff. Like here, we'll take this clip later on, and I'm just going to use JK and L. So J is reverse. So I'll just hit J, and it's technically playing. I haven't stopped it yet. It's it's chunking along. So like
it's trying.
That's you can't edit with that. But then we'll go to GPU accelerated decoding. In fact, did that even stop? Yeah, I did. Okay, so we'll go to GPU accelerated decoding. I'll hit reverse. Look at it. It's going in reverse. I can go to 2x reverse. It still goes good. I can go in forward. I can go up to like 4x and forward. I can go in reverse.
That's pretty cool.
So like it's really, really, really good. Like the performance is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's that's a pretty big deal. And I mean the video that we have out, we did footage from a DJI Mavic. We had some from a GoPro, and from an iPhone, which you can tell the footage that I shot at the office versus the footage that our videographer shot. But like, that's so good. Like scrubbing and everything versus none.
What's extra funny?
Happy.
When you're scrubbing on the right hand one, the I guess the bad one, your audio gets a little scraggly too.
Oh yeah, that's true because that's using my CPU.
It's chunking it real.
Probably even see like. Oh, here, okay, I'll do this. So like scrubbing around, yeah, 60% of my CPU.
Yeah. Wow.
And only 23% of my GPU. Now if I go to the other one, scrub around, it's using 50% of my CPU and I don't know, 80% of my GPU. So it's just offloading all of that onto the GPU.
Nice.
Which is amazing because the CPU is going to be used for so much more stuff in the background. Like,
right.
I mean, even right now, like just because of the stream, I'm using, what is it, like a third of my CPU power. And like, yeah, now it's not needed for that.
That's cool.
Here, I'll stop share so people can actually see us, not just like see my screen. But yeah, like, so that's really, really, really cool. Like that's a massive improvement.
Yeah. I feel like that's gonna help a lot of some of the kind of more hobbyist or like prosumer. I feel like YouTubers and stuff will have a much, or like kind of those mid-range YouTubers and whatnot. They'll just have a much easier time editing
Yeah,
videos and stuff.
it's going to help everyone because like
Yeah.
on the low end, yeah, because one is a whole lot easier to upgrade your video card.
Oh yeah.
Like if you got a really old system, tossing in a video card is usually pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
Upgrading your CPU, well, that's a CPU, motherboard, RAM, maybe power supply,
Right.
like OS reinstall because it's a new motherboard. Like that's a
Now,
huge amount of pain.
does it matter what video card? Are they all about
A
the
little
same?
bit. We did. So when the AMD video card launched, which is the big Navi or whatever,
Right.
that's when we're going to be redoing all of our GPU testing, and we should be able to
Okay.
see that then because we'll be updating to the new version of Premiere Pro and all that jazz. So we should be able to see then how it kind of like scales between kind of our benchmarks don't really test like a lot of the stuff that it is really good for, like scrubbing
Sure.
performance. We don't test in our benchmark. JK and L editing, we don't test in our benchmark because Premiere, like the SDK kind of freaks out and it gives you really weird results if you go in more than 1x speed for whatever reason. Like it'll
Okay.
say you've dropped more frames than exist in your sequence. So
Weird.
that's why we don't
Okay.
test that.
All right. Well,
Um,
maybe we could do another video just to kind
Yeah,
of
we
show.
might.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, no matter what, it's a big difference. And that, yeah, like I said, the low end people are going to benefit. But honestly, I think the high end people are going to benefit just as much. I mean, the people who really want Threadripper because they work with 8K red footage,
Oh,
they
sure.
still have to deal with H.264 and HEVC all the time, even in some of those same projects, because like they'll get drone shots, so they'll get in the car shots with a GoPro.
That
And
makes
like
sense.
before, like they would just it'd be worse to edit that H.264 media than it was to edit the 8K red stuff.
Wow.
But now it's good for both.
Awesome. Oh, that's cool to hear. Yeah, right on. Just
Yeah.
make everybody's life so much easier.
I mean,
That's cool.
Anytime we can say that if you spend more money, it'll be better for everything, that's awesome.
Yeah.
When you have to say like, yeah, you can spend more money, but it'll be better for this, but worse for this.
Right.
Oh, that
Oh.
sucks. Because
Yeah.
then like people are spending money and they're having to make like decisions on where to give up performance. When you don't have to give up performance anywhere, everyone wins.
That's a good way of putting it. I hadn't thought of it that way. Yeah, cuz like yeah, awesome. That's pretty cool. So, anything else in video editing that stands out?
In like Premiere, not as much. Like they added better support for ProRes RAW, which I still don't know of any cameras that shoot in ProRes RAW. Honestly, I expect ProRes RAW to just like disappear at some point. Like I don't know why it's being pushed so heavily because nothing. I've never heard of anyone editing with ProRes RAW.
Huh.
Let's see. That's pretty much Premiere. After Effects got a whole bunch of cool stuff though, and that's not kind of video.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
we still get people asking like, oh yeah, I'm editing videos in After Effects and I need better performance. Like it's gonna suck no matter what. After Effects is not made to edit videos.
Yeah, that's
can't.
interesting.
But I mean, it's also you can edit videos in Photoshop. You also shouldn't do that.
Oh man.
So the cool thing in After Effects, I think, is they added, well, they improved a whole bunch of 3D stuff. So people doing any 3D transforms and 3D scenes.
Yeah.
But the big thing I think is they finally got Roto Brush 2 put out, and I think Roto Brush was a part of the sneaks, like my first Adobe MAX,
Okay.
and now we're on version 2.
So
Really-
I know what that means, but just
Yeah.
in case, what is
So
Roto
Roto
Brush?
Brush. Here, I'll just show.
Oh
I can do
yeah,
another
more
screen.
showing.
I can just show.
Demos are so much fun.
Demos are fun. I like demos. Okay.
Oh look, it's you.
Yeah, I'm sorry you have to look at me anyway. This is the video I had. So this is actually our GPU decoding video for Premiere. I just grabbed a really short bit out of it, and you know, I'm not a VFX artist. I'm not a motion graphics person, so this is not going to be like that great. But basically, I want to present a situation here that you know I would rather this wasn't my background. I want this actually to be somewhere else. I want to be outside or whatever. But hey, we didn't film on a green screen, so how do I do it? And normally what you would have to do is you'd grab your pen tool, you come in here and you like manually go through and, you know, trace someone out. And then you'd go to the next frame and you have to move them, each one.
Frame by frame?
Every frame. And that's what you would do. And that's how you
That's rotoscope.
Rotoscope is what it's called.
Man, that's nuts.
So now though, we can just grab the Roto Brush 2 up here, go into the layer, and it's kind of like Photoshop where you can do like it's like the smart lasso or whatever. You basically just say like, yeah, this is all me, like include that. And then you got to, you go a couple of times like, nope, this isn't me. Nope, this isn't me. Nope. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And it'll automatically try to find the edges, and like this down here. And basically, all what we can do is I can just hit I think it's page down, goes to the next frame. I can see like it's tracking me.
Hey.
I can even hit play, and it'll automatically track every frame. And like that's amazing. Now this one isn't moving all that much, but like still like not having to adjust like around my head and everything is really, really cool. So then what you would do is you'd hit freeze. I'm not going to, well, whatever, I can hit it.
Yeah, why not?
It goes through again, and it actually is like freezing each one of those. So we don't have to sit here.
Oh, okay.
I went ahead and had it done ahead of time.
Okay.
And so you can see like now I'm all cut out, and I can do something like, I want to be outside. Oh, I'm still in the...
Hey, there you
I
are.
want to be outside. I'm now at Mount Rainier.
That's
Or
cool.
you can do something like, here, I want to be at Adobe MAX. I'm presenting at Adobe MAX from last year.
Wow.
Or something. And like, obviously, this is terrible. This isn't the right size or anything because I'm just covering Jason Levine there. But, whatever. It's close enough. It's good enough for a demo. And so, like, yeah, and that took me like 2 or 3 minutes. And like, it's not perfect, but you can go in here and you can feather the edges more. You can adjust things, and like that's pretty good for me who has no real experience rotoscoping. Like, I just told it what is me and cut me out.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's cool. That's man. I've never. That is really neat. Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be a massive time saver. And again, I think this is one of those ones where like it's not going to be perfect.
Sure.
It's going to get you most of the way there, and then you have to go in and you have to just adjust some points rather than having to adjust all of the points.
Yeah, and holy cow, just the time of not having to go frame by frame, and that's crazy.
Like if you watch like the credits of any recent movie and you actually like see all the people who are going by once they get to like the VFX stuff,
right?
You'll see they'll often be like hundreds of people where their whole thing is just rotoscoping. That's all they did for like the entire movie is they just like went in there and point next frame point.
And could you imagine, because you got I mean, I guess for a film it's 24.95 or whatever frames per second, but it's an hour and a half film, 90 minutes, that's 3,600 seconds. I think I did the math wrong on that. But either way, that's a lot. It's a lot of seconds. Yeah. It's a lot of frames. It's insane.
It's about 130,000 frames for a 90-minute video.
Yeah. and I could just...
And so something like this, and especially for people who aren't skilled, and that's what I think a big thing is for a lot of this stuff, is it's allows, or it's like the barrier to entry is so much lower.
Yeah.
So you can just like paint this area and let the computer figure it out for you. Like think about the people who are in like high school or middle school or even elementary school now who are like getting into, video or VFX. Like that super lowers the barrier. So they don't have to sit there and meticulously trace something out for days. They can get something that's 95% as good as a professional, right? And just move on, do the stuff that they want to do.
That's exciting. Just the possibilities of the content that we could see from, just more, I suppose, amateur, I guess, hobbyists and stuff is going to be, that's great. That's super cool. Now, part of that demo was freezing. It was going through the frames. What would make that faster?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
That's not something we've really tested. Well, here, what I can do, I'll just do this off screen so we won't have to like talk about it. But here, what I'll do.
Live benchmarking right here.
Yep. Well, I'm gonna just look at like the system load. I suspect it's going to be pretty single threaded, although it's AI, so it's probably using the GPU too.
I would think, or it's like already like a lot of that might be like already done. I suppose I'm not sure how like
Mhm.
Adobe Sensei and all that works. If it's local and has to crunch it brand new every time, or
Yeah. So oddly, it doesn't even. Okay, my CPU load went up a little bit, GPU went up a little bit, but I don't. It looks like it might be single threaded and it's just bouncing around the cores. So you're going to be looking for something that has better per core performance.
okay.
Which honestly, like so many, almost all of the CPUs these days have like almost
Oh,
identical core performance. So Threadripper, Ryzen, Intel, it's all going to be about the same.
that's cool.
So, well, that just means that like, yeah, I don't really need to spend money on something if this is something you want to go faster because it's just going to be like X series will be slower than everything else because it's a little bit older,
Right.
but and probably the new AMD stuff that'll be launching will be a little bit faster.
Okay.
But it's basically just the newer the generation, the CPU, the faster it's going to be then.
Nice. Well, let's see. No,
That's
yeah. And don't forget, you guys, you get the audience. You guys can ask questions too. So
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Any questions about any of this stuff, or I don't know if you wanted clarification on any of the stuff because
sure.
we're going to be trying to go. We're already 20 minutes in. We're
Yeah.
already a third of our way through.
Yeah.
It goes fast,
It
man.
really does. My favorite thing so far has been the neural thing from Photoshop.
Neurofilters.
Yeah, that was fun.
Guess what? I have a demo.
Which is super great. I think this will be a really good one after the fact as well. So more
Yeah.
demos is good. Okay. Who's this?
This is not a real person.
No way.
Yeah, this is from here. I think you can see this. This person does not
Oh,
exist.com.
yeah,
So
yeah.
this is all AI generated. You just refresh, it gives you a new person. So this way you don't have to care about like
Oh, that guy's eyeball.
permission to use photos.
That's crazy.
So I just went on here, I hit refresh a couple of times to find a couple photos. And so this lady, actually a trick here. She's actually really old.
Oh,
So I already had a neurofilter applied to make her look younger.
wow.
And I'm curious how many people actually looking at that even thought that anything was weird with this. First of all, it's an AI generated person.
Yeah.
And two, I was making the AI generated older person younger.
That's only having since you swapped back and forth, the hair looks a little fuzzy.
Yeah. Well, and also interesting, she lost her the
Oh, her earrings?
yeah, her earrings. The earrings got so probably the AI couldn't figure out what that was and just took them out.
Huh.
So there's that one. There's this guy, which again,
Hey.
he was younger, and I made him look a bit older. And so like
Oh, neat.
that's pretty cool. It even makes like the hair a bit grayer. I think this one I turned down the hair thickness because there's a whole bunch of different things you can do. Um, but we can also have some fun with this
Hey,
guy.
hey, who's that?
I don't know how old of a picture this is. This has to be like 5 or 6 years old now, probably.
Actually, no. This is the most recent official photograph of me from the company. I want to say 2018. Yeah.
Okay.
I asked John to put it back to my scientist picture after taking this one.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, this was just the high res one that I could find on our. So all you got to do is you just go up to filter, and there's neural filters, and like there's some cool stuff. There's like skin smoothing and style transfer, which maybe we'll look at here in a second. But the big thing are these beta filters,
Oh.
and yeah, there's some really cool stuff. There's like colorizing if it's black and white.
Oh.
These ones actually aren't there. You can like vote to say like, yes, I really want that. Like you guys should work on that.
Okay.
Makeup transfer, I tried to get working and I couldn't get working. It's supposed to like transfer like makeup from one photo to another. I
Okay.
couldn't get it
Okay.
to really work well. But whatever. These are beta. But all you do is you just turn it on and say we want to make your age old. One interesting thing, I'm not sure because this might be kind of small, but it says this filter processes image data in the cloud. So
Oh.
it's actually using the cloud to do a lot of this.
Okay.
Some local because you can see here like my CPU is a little bit loaded, my GPU is a little bit loaded. Just the stream is probably around 20% on both.
Sure.
So, but so now
Hey!
we've already got kind of and the cool thing is once it does that initial processing, it actually goes pretty fast. So like make you young, and like it does skin smoothing, it does all this other stuff. But like let's work on making you a grumpy old guy. There's emotion sliders. Things get a little weird if you like mix different emotions. So now you're really unhappy and grumpy.
Weird.
So we can make you a happy.
I noticed too that it doesn't really know what to do with like my beard.
It very much faces only, and it like feathers it out. So like your hair up here didn't change a whole bunch, but like you're losing your hair. And like if you go too far, you can really see that edge.
Hey, that's funny.
Where it was. But yeah, I'm a little bit. I wish like they went out, but this is very focused on the face.
Okay, so that you can't adjust that box.
No.
Okay.
Oddly, there's like a hand here. At least not that I can find. I mean, this only came out like yesterday.
Right.
But you can see like how different. Like that's what you're gonna look like in a while. But like you're saying, the gaze, I can make you look more over here. So you're way over there. Or way over there. So you can move kind of where people are looking just a little bit. You can even turn their head. Maybe I should turn off the because it's probably getting really confused with all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So just head direction. Like that's not too bad. Do I have something else on? No, just that. So it definitely isn't perfect.
Right.
You can do small adjustments, and it's not too bad. Again, like we'd have to fix this afterwards and all that jazz. The light direction I think is really cool too. So the light is very heavy on the left here, and like we can it'll brighten up this side so it looks like maybe a little bit more balanced. Or we can do super heavy light just on the left and make it even worse.
That's cool.
But it's really cool. So yeah, grumpy old Houston. Let's
Love
do
it.
There we go. Grumpy old Houston. I'm also very surprised. Let's see what it does.
Oh.
No?
Okay. My ears got bigger.
Oh, there.
That's great.
But yeah, and then you can just do great. Okay, and you can keep these as a smart filter, so you can even go back in afterwards and change it. Like if I don't want you to be quite so grumpy, we can come here and turn down the grump.
That's great.
And then there we go. We got an old Houston. And the other thing I would probably do after this, because it doesn't know about your beard, is this is just I just turned down the saturation to make it more gray and just paint on a mask.
Sure.
So like, that's pretty darn good. That's awesome. That's so cool. Like this looks like a person.
No,
like, I'm curious how much it looks like your dad.
Honest to goodness, the eye space, it's spooky. Like if you were just looking at the eye area, that is uncanny. Like because my dad's like 70 this year, and that honest to goodness, that's pretty dang close.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool what it can do. The other part, there's other things in there too. There are neural filters for like so this has been something that like
You're tweaking out there. Hang on. Whoa. Oh. Hold on, I had to mute you. Your audio started wigging out. It sounds like there's like a wood chipper nearby. I think your RTX voice might be freaking out. I can't. So I muted you for the stream. Give us a moment here. You got some technical difficulties, but also, Matt, in the Zoom, you're gone as audio at least. There we go. That's better. All right, let's unmute. There you go. We're back. That was fun.
I had this issue before, and I wonder if there's a conflict between some of these neural filters and NVIDIA Broadcast.
Okay.
Because when I was using NVIDIA Broadcast, NVIDIA Broadcast is using my GPU, and those neural filters are using the GPU. So I wonder if there's, Although right now, to me, you're just a green screen.
Oh,
Oh, there
wow.
you are. You're
Yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah, there we go. That's cool.
Let me see if I can turn back on NVIDIA broadcast for my.
Nope.
I'm gonna really quickly restart NVIDIA broadcast, and we're not gonna do that demo again
Okay.
because I've got kids here, and if I don't turn on NVIDIA broadcast, very soon there's gonna be yelling and screaming
All right.
that everyone is gonna hear.
Welcome to the fun parts of live broadcasting.
Yeah. Well, and with stuff that's like in beta, which is interesting that they have those beta neurofilters in the like production build of Photoshop.
Well, it must be stable enough. It's probably data gathering. Honestly, they just
Yeah.
want more
Well,
people to use them.
yeah. Well, and Photoshop is odd. Like so a lot of the video stuff, so Premiere, After Effects, and I want to say like Illustrator and Media Encoder, they have public betas now. So just in Creative Cloud, you can just download the beta and start testing stuff, which
Okay.
is awesome because one, they can get all of their like testing from the wider people. Because I mean, even as big as Adobe is, they can't test every combination of hardware and software and old drivers and whatever weird antivirus you're running or whatever. So like it's great to be able to do that, and they have to do that, but they're not using the end users who like are concerned about stability
Right.
as their guinea pigs at Microsoft. It's great. So, but Photoshop, they're not doing that quite yet. I don't think they're on that public beta kind of stuff. So, hopefully they will be soon, though, because the other cool thing what that does is it allows us to talk about anything we want, because anything that's in beta, heck, we can do performance testing and be like, yeah, it's in beta, but let's look at it.
Sure.
And there's no NDAs to worry about or anything.
That makes sense. That'd be cool. Well, one day, I'm sure.
Yeah,
So,
oh yeah, I know. They've even said that that's their intention long term. It's just I get why it takes time to kind of roll out that stuff, because that means that like the Photoshop team has to be able to have two installs of Photoshop side by side, because like if you install any of these public beta apps, they install side by side, so you can go back and forth between them.
So did that break terribly enough to where we can't see the sky replacement?
We can try. Because sky replacement is different.
Okay.
Let's try. All right. Okay, I'm gonna do another screen share.
Right.
If this breaks this time, we're done with this demo. So I'm not gonna worry about the neural filters. In fact, actually, I already did one. So you can see this was a different one that I did a neural filter of, like, I forget what painting style it is. But you can kind of just see the difference. I think this was somewhere by the Gold Coast in Australia. And like it just makes it look like a painting. So a lot of these like neural filters for this kind of thing, what is it called? Style transfer.
Right.
I'm not quite sure what the actual like professional use is. Like they're cool to play with. I'm not sure what the actual use is, but
yeah.
I'm also not very artistic, so
sure.
you know. But for the sky replacement, I have to remember how to do this. I believe you just do. Oh, I looked this up right ahead of time, and now I don't remember. It was image. Oh shoot! Now I'm looking at myself like I don't. Sky. That. No, that just selects the sky. Okay, we're gonna do the good old Google.
To the Google.
Sky replacement. Google will get it right.
Did you mean?
Let's see here. There we go. Okay. This is the video I actually checked.
Okay, here we go.
Where were you? Edit sky replacement.
Okay.
I saw it.
We're back.
Edit.
There
sky
it is.
Replacement. There it is. Things aren't always where I would expect them to be.
Right.
So you just get this window. You just select like what kind of sky. So like say I wanted more clouds, you know, on this picture. I wanted it just to be a little bit more moody.
Huh.
So you can select whichever one you want. You can do a shift edge. So like if you had like these are actually pretty clean edges, but if you had some sort of like leaves that were really almost kind of translucent, you can change like the brightness of the sky to kind of match the photo. So like, yeah, that would look bad. Like a little bit lighter probably makes sense with this photo. Probably a little bit more like, I don't know, blue to kind of just match the hue. You can change the scale of the clouds.
Big clouds.
And like this is just a image on the background. So you can have whatever images you want in the background or to use your own. Like you can make your own because
Ooh.
um, again here. So then it just makes a folder and there's just the different skies. And these ones, if I wanted to like, I can just hit Control T so you can just kind of see that like this is just a picture.
Oh,
It's
neat.
just a picture of sky.
So,
And
so you could put me in the sky.
I could put you in the sky. But then you can still adjust all these things because all of these are just like normal,
Oh, it's just
adjustment
like
layers.
oh, that's pretty cool.
Or like I could decide like, oh, I'd really rather this be more like here. I think that well, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Think of it like that. And like now I went from a totally pure blue sky to a clouds. And like this isn't quite right. Like this cloud is too big to be behind the mountain and stuff like that. So like yeah, this isn't the right sky replacement to really use for this demo, but whatever. Like it just does it really well and it gets all around like all of the trees and stuff. And like if there's a person, I saw a demo yesterday during Adobe MAX from oh I forget his name, Pix Imperfect. He's one of the guys that like I'm gonna go back to cameras. Pix Imperfect is one of the guys that I watch like just his Photoshop tutorials, even though I'm not like using Photoshop every day because he's such a good like presenter.
Oh,
And
neat.
he
Okay.
just the chase. Like most of his tutorials are like 5 minutes, so it's really cool to see like here's this really cool thing you can do in Photoshop in 5 minutes. And he did one of these sky replacements, but it was someone holding like a translucent cloth, like a big veil that was streaming out behind him.
Uh huh.
And her, sorry, and he made it so that like you could see the sky through the veil, which is really hard to do. Anything with like transparency and stuff, like being able to replace the sky behind something that's partially, opaque,
Yeah.
is difficult. But it seems so easy when he did it. It's like, oh, you just add another layer and you just like turn the opacity down, and here you go.
Wow.
It's amazing.
That is really cool. Let's see. Oh, we did have a question on YouTube a little bit ago. Have you ever used a Red Digital Cinema Red Rocket X video card?
So we did some testing with one of those years ago. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 years ago. And what we found at the time was it was basically no different than just using a GPU. Because before, a while back, I think Red, you pretty much needed one of those cards to accelerate decoding and debayering. So
Oh,
turning
okay.
the raw sensor data into usable video and then also decompressing it because all video codecs are like, it's kind of like a zip file, like it compresses it. So you also decompress it. And at that time, it was about the same as using a video card. And now, like, video cards have gotten so much more powerful. Honestly, I'm sure there's workflows where it makes sense, but I don't think it's most people's workflows because those cards are like $6,000. Like, they're expensive. And like, you can just get, a RTX 3090, which is going to let you do even like 8K multiple streams and all this stuff. So like, yeah, just use a GPU. That's our take on it. Again, I'm sure there are workflows where it makes sense, just not most.
Sure, sure. How easily can Photoshop? So Timo TT from YouTube, he's asking, how easily can a photoshopped image or video be distinguished from a real image today? I know Adobe has been working on tools to identify edited videos or and photos.
Yeah, they have a couple of different things. I think it was a big thing at Adobe MAX last year was all this concern about AI and
Deepfake and all that.
Deep fakes and even just like a photoshopped image. So yeah, I know they're doing a lot of work with that. There was something in Photoshop about that this launch. I didn't really tune into it too much because that's not something we usually have to deal with. But I do know that Adobe is making big progress on that kind of stuff. And there's a whole bunch of other people. Like this is a whole field of study. Like if Don was on the stream right now, he's our HPC guy, scientific computing and artificial intelligence stuff. He can go on a big discussion about this because it's actually super interesting what it is. It's basically you have all of this AI stuff that's trying to make fake things.
Right.
So just like that, this is not a real person.com thing where it's made up people. And then you also have neural nets or artificial intelligence that is being trained to detect that is not real. and it's just kind of like an ongoing war between the two.
Sure.
The AI generating stuff will get better, and so the AI like detecting stuff has to get better. But then the AI generating stuff learns from the AI detecting stuff to make itself better, and so that's partly what is kind of driving a lot of this AI to be so much better today. It's not human. It's AI learning from itself, which is super scary, but super awesome.
Right.
Too. So,
what I think Don has mentioned that they're like adversarial neural net stuff.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they're pitted against each other like that. That's crazy. Because
really
honestly, the fake person one, I couldn't. There were a couple where like the guy's eye was like super weird, but
yeah, there's a few where there was something in the background. They're like, that doesn't look right.
Those looked legit. Like those were people, as far as I could tell, and that's mind blowing. Wow.
Yeah, honestly, the thing that I think makes it the most, or that I noticed out of all of them, maybe it's just because I looked at like 100 of them trying to find a couple that would be a good example, is everybody is too perfect, I guess. Like people are not symmetrical. Like, one of my ears is slightly higher than the other, or people's eyes are slightly different. But all of those photos, I noticed that like every person had like perfect symmetry. Like, or so like that's probably one thing that like maybe things to start looking for like on those AI detection stuff is like, do people look too perfect?
Right. Wow.
Which then for those really attractive people out there, be like, no, you're fake.
That'd be funny. You get like plastic surgery to look a little off, just so you don't look like a robot. Yeah, that'd be funny. Weird. So, Stormy Whisper on Twitch is asking if money is no object, what is currently the fastest system build for After Effects, CPU and GPU, and then also how fast should the RAM be for the best real-time preview experience?
Best CPU right now, I believe, is a 3900X. I think it's, or no, maybe it is the 3950. I think it's the 3950X. I mean, it's like a few percent faster than the 3900X or a few percent faster than the 10900K. So like, I think right now for our After Effects systems, we're still using the 10900K because it's virtually identical and the platform tends to be a little bit more stable and it has Thunderbolt support. So that's why we tend to use the 10900K. But if you're looking for every little percent, probably the 3950X for now. I mean, in a couple of weeks, the new AMD stuff is going to come out, and they've been saying 19% IPC increase, which should translate to 19% like per core performance. And since After Effects is very lightly threaded, it should mean that it'll be about 20-ish% faster than the 3950X. But I mean, who knows? They're changing a whole bunch of stuff in that, the new CPUs, so could be higher, could be lower. But if you're looking for the ultimate kind of stuff, you might want to wait that month. I think it's November 5th or something. And so it beginning of November, at least. They did their paper launch. So they've already announced pricing and specs and everything. So it'll probably be those new CPUs. As for GPU, I mean, technically it's going to be the RTX 3090 if money is no object. But I don't think, you usually don't see any real performance increase once you get above, I want to say it was like a 2070 Super. So the 3070 should be launching soon, and I think they said sometime in October, so it's got to be coming soon.
Right.
And that'll probably be almost as good as the 3090. But again, if money is no object, do a 3090.
Sure. What would be the benefit though? Like just a little, you're squeaking out just a little bit more from it?
Yeah, that's all it is, just a little bit more. And I mean, GPU is probably something you want to over-invest in a little bit right now. Like, it's hard because, especially in something like After Effects that is so CPU heavy and so single-threaded heavy, it's hard to justify investing anywhere else because like it's going to give you tangible benefits now.
Sure.
But GPU is somewhere to invest in because of all of this AI stuff that they're working on, and that is going to be leveraging the GPU. So like the Roto Brush stuff is using the GPU a little bit. It's also using CPU single-threaded, but as they add more and more AI stuff, a lot of this stuff is going to be able to take advantage of the GPU. And the newer the GPU you have, like the newer cards have like tensor cores and stuff like that. So if you're going from 1000 series NVIDIA to a 2000 or 3000, it should be a bigger bump than like something like gaming.
Oh, all right. Cool. And how about the RAM speed?
RAM speed, I don't think it actually makes that big of a difference. So writing to RAM, I guess for people who aren't familiar, After Effects has this thing where you play through the timeline, so frame by frame, and each frame, when it's done rendering it, when it's done creating that whole frame, it stores it into RAM so that if you go back to that frame, it doesn't have to redo all of those calculations. It just like says like, oh, that's already in RAM. I just read it.
Okay.
And so it's instant rather than having to take, sometimes it can take you a second to render each frame or longer. And then when it's in RAM, it'll also try to write to the hard drive in the background whenever it can, so that even when you shut down After Effects and it clears all RAM, next time you load up After Effects, it'll be able to read from the hard drive, which again is basically instantaneous.
Right.
And the thing is, though, that the amount of time it takes to write that frame into RAM is so short compared to how long it usually takes to render that frame that it almost doesn't matter. So we've never seen any tangible benefits in After Effects of having faster RAM. So we always stick with what is the manufacturer recommendation. So on AMD, usually 3200, Intel, 2933 or 3200 or something like that. So we usually don't worry about going faster, because when you go faster than what the CPU is rated for, it increases the amount of like instability and like blue screens and all that kind of stuff. So like, okay, maybe it's 0.5% faster in After Effects by using 3600 RAM, but if After Effects crashes like one more time every 6 months, is that worth it? Probably not. Like, something you'd never notice versus that one time when it crashes right when you're about to finish this project for a client, and then all that progress is gone.
Yeah.
Like, oh. So don't worry about RAM speed. Just get more RAM. After Effects will never have enough RAM. Like, the more RAM you have, the more frames it can store. And so it just, the faster makes your workflow. So like, we've had customers who want 512 gigs of RAM or even a terabyte of RAM, and there's not many who really want that much for After Effects, but there's a few.
Wow.
The problem is, at that point, you have to get a CPU that can support that, which generally aren't as fast for After Effects than something like a 3950X or Ryzen or 10th gen Intel.
Okay. Right on. Another question from YouTube, Fight SDG. He says, so my brother is going to college for film in the fall. What would you recommend for CPU, RAM, and GPU?
If you're going for a desktop, because I know a lot of people going to like college and stuff really prefer laptops. Cool thing is, now that GPU decoding that we talked about at the very beginning of the stream, you don't need to go Intel anymore.
Right.
So it's probably best bet to go Ryzen. Use AMD, go Ryzen. Whichever CPU fits in your budget, really. Like, they've got pretty good scaling and like Premiere. So yeah, I probably do Ryzen. GPU. Man, if you can swing one of the new 3000 cards, go for it. The 3070 should be launching soonish, and that's a lot more affordable. So if you can, do that, because that's got some really epic performance benefits are amazing. And again, GPU is just going to be more and more important, so investing a little bit there will be great. RAM, I would probably say try to get 32 gigs if you can. 64 is great, but you probably don't need that if you're just going to be in film school. 16 is just a little bit low these days. Like,
yeah,
seems like everything just gets bloated. It's like, back in the day, what was it, like 128K of RAM? No one's going to need more than that.
Yeah, right.
Whatever. It was something insanely small.
Yeah.
And like, now we're like, yeah, I need 64 gigs. And so Ryzen, if you can wait for the new Ryzens that are launching in a couple of weeks, wait for them, because they should be way faster. Probably a 3070, which should launch soon, or 3080 if you want to, also play more video games and stuff too. And then 32 gigs of RAM. Awesome. You should be able to do that in a small desktop, small form factor. I mean, if you want to go all the way down to ITX, I'm not sure what options there are for. I think there are options for Ryzen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, there should be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really though, MATX is probably the best way to go, just for space and expansion.
Yeah, I've pretty much settled on MATX for all of my stuff. Like, ITX is just too small. Like, I like the thought of really small and compact, but then like, it's always louder because like the fans have to spin faster when there's less space for fans, and things are just more compact. And ATX just seems so big for me. Like, ATX is great if you need like 12 video cards and like a networking card and all that kind of jazz, but I don't need that. I have one video card. I'm using only M.2 storage now. Like, I don't need anything big. Like, in fact, my case could really be a lot smaller, because there's all this like hard drive bays and stuff. Like, I don't need any of that. Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Give me M.2 and I'm good.
Yeah, that'll be cool when we get to a point where Like you don't have to accommodate for 3.5 hard drives. That'll
We're
be cool.
getting there. We're
Mm-hmm.
getting there. I know on like our stuff, M.2, we're trying to use it for like primary drives always.
Yeah.
And I think it's like half of our systems will have a secondary drive, and half of those are just like another SSD. So like usually we can just use that as an M.2 also.
Right.
So it's really not that many systems still with 3.5 inch. And I don't know. I thought by this time, like large storage like that would be all external. So I'm a little bit surprised that we're still doing so much internal, but
Yeah.
it's just because external, you have to go through so many extra controllers. There's so many more points of failure and compatibility issues and all that kind of jazz. So,
Right.
um, but hopefully at some point, like I still I guess Thunderbolt is kind of this, but I still kind of wish that like we just had PCIe everything, because PCIe is hot pluggable
Right.
theoretically. So if we just had a whole bunch of like X1 like on the back of your computer, like you just plug something in and it's just like straight PCIe X1, like you don't need X4 for so many
Oh,
things. But I
that'd
don't
be
know.
cool. Huh. That's a thought.
But yeah, who knows? Who knows? We'll do that because then because like USB controllers are such a pain, and
Oh yeah.
FireWire controllers, like
Firewire.
PCIe, it's just like backwards compatible. Like it just works.
Yeah.
It's straight to your CPU.
Hmm.
But I guess the problem is you have to have drivers then for every device.
Oh,
That kind of
sure. Sure.
because it's
Okay.
not just going through a USB controller.
I guess.
And
Right on.
that's why I'm not an engineer with like Intel or Asus or
Or yeah, right. Jeez. All right. Let's see. Oh, there's a mention of the 870 QVO 8 terabyte drive.
yeah, didn't we add that to our product? I think we added that to our product line. It's a cool
Oh.
drive. It's huge, but the speed isn't as high, I believe. I think it's fairly slow for an SSD. I think.
Huh.
Isn't it like 250 megs or something?
I don't know.
Uh, but yeah, it's
Show,
amazing that
shows
you
how
get
much
like an
I'm
8
paying
terabyte
attention.
solid state.
That's great.
See if I can find it. No, it says up to 560. There was something. Man, I'm gonna Google or
Well, I
not Google.
know Samsung's QVO stuff is tends to be like fewer like read write operations possible or something. Like they don't last as long or something like that.
Yeah,
It's like a little bit of their. It's kind of like their budget Evos, kind of.
yeah. They're weird. There's some special thing. Man, yeah, I forget. There was something about it where like I think maybe it like slowed down really fast or something like that, so you don't get the full speed for very long. Which if you have an 8 terabyte drive, you're probably going to be copying a lot
Yeah.
of data. But yeah, I can't remember what it was. Or maybe it was endurance.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think that usually comes with those QVOs in general, the endurance.
Yeah.
But still, man, that's great.
Uh,
8 terabytes and an SSD.
Yeah, I mean, because SSDs have a lot of things going for them. Even forget about speed. Like, and as long as like it's okay, as long as
Right.
it's better than a platter drive,
Yeah.
great. Because like platter drives, like they just have so much more points of failure. There's so
Oh
many
yeah.
moving parts. They're loud. They're especially like an 8 terabyte drive. They're fairly loud,
Oh yeah.
and like yeah, they're gonna fail faster and everything. And like, so yeah, I'm all for it. I do think that this is probably pushing the envelope a little bit. I don't think there's going to be many people that buy it because of all of its downsides
Sure.
versus just getting like, I don't know, 4 terabytes or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not a bad price. Like, was it B&H here is selling it for 900 bucks for 8 terabytes?
I mean that's
Like a
that's
hundred
huge.
bucks a terabyte. That's not bad at all.
Yeah. Wow. And then there's mention of a 8 terabyte M.2 by Sabrent is coming, I guess. Wow. Man,
Makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool
That's
stuff,
neat.
and we're getting the first like PCIe Gen 4. Like, there's been PCIe Gen 4, but I think like is it? I forget who, but like they're starting to be made by,
Well, I think Intel has
I guess
a
more reputable companies.
yeah, I think Intel has one.
Yeah, I think
The
Gigabyte.
that's for Gen 4. Which I
Yeah,
thought, because that was actually earlier this year. I remember them announcing it. I don't know if it's available yet, but I remember them talking about it, and I'm like, that's kind of weird since there's no Intel boards that support PCIe 4 yet. Like,
well, it's different departments, and the
yeah,
company.
right,
Storage space is different than motherboards and all that, but yeah, it is a little bit weird. But the thing I have with the PCIe Gen 4 drives is like, I don't know when you need it. When do you need 7 gigs a second read? Like,
when you have it.
Like for final copy from like one of those drives to another, yeah, great, that's awesome.
Instant.
But where do you need that? Like, what workflows actually benefit from that? I know there's a few. Like, I think
Well, sure.
we had some customer that was doing like 4-drive RAID 0 of like the 960 Pros or something because it was, I forget what they were doing, but like they actually had like, they were processing a whole bunch of uncompressed video streams or something like that. They were processing like 100 video streams or something nuts. And like they needed it, but like that's one person. They were buying like $100,000 computers.
Timo has another question. Is hot SSD a problem for longer use?
I think so. I mean, because any electronics, the hotter it runs, the more it's going to wear, the faster it's going to fail. So yeah, you definitely want to keep them cool if you can. M.2 or NVMe drives also have the issue of they don't. I think this isn't as big of a deal now, but they thermal throttle. So as they get hot, the speed goes down.
Right.
So the more cool you can keep them, the faster they'll actually be. You'll be able to have that sustained, 4 gigs a second or whatever it is for longer. Most motherboards now for like NVMe drives, they have got a little heat sink on them, which is usually good. The times where that's bad actually is if you have like a whole bunch of video cards, like we sometimes do.
Oh, sure.
Because if you have like 2 video cards right over that M.2 slot, I mean, heatsink works both ways.
Yeah.
Like if you're pumping off heat from those video cards, that's going to be, absorbed by that heatsink, and then it's going to be piped straight to that NVMe drive. So you do have to be a little careful with like heatsinks that you don't actually put it right underneath the video card, which a lot of M.2 like slots are. They're like right underneath the video card, that's literally the worst place it could be. But usually it's still not a big deal.
Right.
Most people, they're not doing anything sustained. Like, launching a game, launching apps. It's not using that drive to all that much. And, to do all that.
Oh, that's good. Let's see. We have a few more minutes. Just a few. Is there anything else you want to talk about or showcase from the Adobe MAX?
I think so. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff in Photoshop that's really cool, but nothing that like I really did anything. It's like, patterns are better. It's like, yeah, that's great. That's really useful, but like,
Sure.
Oh, interesting for me. Like Lightroom got a whole bunch of stuff. Lightroom did get some performance improvements, things that are really hard again for us to test.
Yeah.
Like slider performance. Like you move the slider, how laggy is it? Or you have a brush and you move the brush around, how laggy is it? Oh, that's like impossible to actually like benchmark. So I believe them that it's faster and it's better. And I've heard like anecdotally from like other people like, oh yeah, it's way better. So that's good. Performance is always good.
Oh, here's an interesting kind of technical question from V2D on YouTube. If you have 2 NVMe SSDs, one for projects and footage, the other for cache, which one do you put under the motherboard's M.2 heatsink if it only has one? I suppose it's supposed to rephrase which one is more important to keep cool.
Yeah, probably your cache. Because like your projects and footage, like it goes there, it's on your drive, and then like it just sits there. Like you're gonna read it, but usually reading like media, like the bit rate on most codecs, like even like red stuff, like the highest it is like 200 megs a second, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But that's like 5 or 6K red. Like most things like H264 that people are shooting from like their cell phones or like capturing game footage or whatever, it's gonna be like 20 megabit, which is how many megabytes? I don't know, not many, like 8, 4 megabytes a second. Like that's nothing.
Yeah.
And so that's not a big deal. But cache files, they get constantly read to and written to, like constantly. So it's probably a bigger deal to keep that drive more cooled than like your OS and app drive. So probably that. That's a hard question though, because on the other hand, like the cooler you keep a drive, technically the longer it should last. So like you don't want your OS drive to fail. Like a cache drive failing, honestly, that might happen. Like because SSDs have finite number of writes and cache files are like constantly writing.
Right.
So like those drives could fail at some point. So, but yeah, that's probably the way I'd do it. Well, I don't know. That's probably like a 50-50. You can really justify it either way.
Huh. Yeah, I suppose
for performance.
Yeah.
For performance, put the cache drive under the heatsink. For like system longevity, maybe do your OS drive under the heatsink. Yeah.
All right.
Tough.
Yeah, because I was thinking. I mean, just like gut feeling would be cache, like you said, because it's like
Hmm.
it's a constant use sort of thing. But yeah,
But it's constantly small files. It's not like you're doing sustained.
right,
So I don't know if it would actually, man, yeah, I don't know. 50-50.
yeah.
Flip a coin, whichever one it is.
Okay, so we're going to take this one last question since we're at our hour. Carlos Eduardo da Costa asks, do I benefit from NVMe speeds to work with 60 videos of virtual choir on Adobe Premiere?
You mean like 60 at once? Like you're doing the whole like,
Like a
uh,
multicam?
not Zoom, but like you have a whole bunch of like thumbnails almost, and you're putting it together. You know, kind of like how people are doing that kind of stuff. For that, maybe. I think the biggest thing you can do is look at the actual bit rate of your footage. Make sure you're looking in megabytes per second, not megabits, because bit rate is usually in megabit. So figure out what it actually is in megabytes, because that's what like storage speed is recorded in. Multiply that by 60, and if that is more than 500 megabytes a second, then you're going to be faster than an SSD, so you need to go up to NVMe. The one thing I do usually tell people is whatever that number is of the total combined bit rate of all your footage is, add an extra 50%. So actually, it's probably more like if you're above 350 megabytes a second, you should probably go up to an NVMe, and it'll give you a benefit. But if it's below that, like being able to read that data faster in Premiere than like the drive, or being able to read it faster than you need to, doesn't really get you anything. So there's no real reason to. And normal SSDs are cheaper, they're bigger, they have less issues, it seems like. Although I don't think that's true anymore, actually. I think NVMEs are just as reliable now as SSDs. When they first came out, they were a little bit higher failure rate. But so I don't think that's an answer I can just give you one off like this. You have to actually look at the bit rate of your footage, do the math, and figure that out.
Still, I think you set him on the right path there. That's good stuff.
So
Right on. Well, all right. So that does put us a little bit over our hour for the day. Thanks, Matt, for the really cool demos. I'm really that was a lot of fun. That was really cool to see some of the really fascinating stuff that Adobe's doing these days.
yeah, it's a big this was a big round of updates.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about it.
I like it because it seems more tangible. Like you can see what they've been doing and actually play with it and stuff. It's really fun.
Yep.
So, and thanks as well to the audience for joining us today. It's always good to have viewership and questions coming in. We do this every Wednesday and Friday. Wednesdays are industry experts from outside the company. We bring them on to talk about their workflow and the crossover from or behind the scenes for their workflow and process and things like that. And then
Except next week.
I was just
right?
about to mention next week we're actually going to be having Matt's stream with Jason Levine. So we'll be restreaming. Are we allowed to do that? We'll figure something out. We won't
Probably not.
we won't have a workflow Wednesday because we'll be hyping up that instead. So definitely look forward for that. I think that's gonna be really fun too, because like, wow, man, we get to be with Jason Levine. And then Fridays are like today. We bring in a member of our labs team to kind of give a peek at the cool new stuff like today, but also answer questions and get a little more perspective on the crossover of the hardware and software, like what that means for the folks like you who are trying to do this stuff for real. So thanks very much. Mark your calendars. Wednesdays, Fridays, 1 p.m. Pacific, right here on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And that'll be it for today. So thanks, you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
See you, everyone.